You're listening to Gender Queries on 100.5 FM, CFRO, and joining us now is Susan and Diovanna, who are part of the film When We Arrive as Flowers. And this is going to be at the Vancouver Queer Film Festival this weekend, and starting actually tonight. And you can go and get tickets and everything at outonscreen.com. Can you go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us your pronouns?
Sure. My name is Diovanna LaBeija. Pronouns are she, her. I am an artist, a dancer, choreographer, poet, and ballroom house member of the House of LaBeija, as the last name insists. Um, Based out of Brooklyn, New York. Been here for about 10 years and have collaborated with the wonderful Susan O'Brien on this fabulous little darling of a seed film, When We Arrive as Flowers, which has now arrived in full bloom and blossom. Take it away, Susie.
The flower puns, they always get me. My name is Susan O'Brien, also go by Susie. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm a director, I'm an art director, I'm a writer, I'm a dancer. I will say jokes and hopefully make you laugh. What else can I do? Can I juggle? No, I can't, but that's me.
Yeah, and this film, I got a chance to watch it. It's visually beautiful and very poetic as well. I've been watching a bunch of films. This is by far my favorite thing that I've
Thank
seen.
you.
And can you tell us a little about the art style? And
Well, do we want to talk about the very beginnings with this project and the idea of flowers? Because that really is the overarching theme of the journey of a flower from the seeds to
True.
its growth to its final bloom. And so we were looking, of course, Diovanna wrote this beautiful, beautiful poem. And when we were talking about the poetry of it, it's so rich in its visuals that it just lends itself perfectly to film as a medium. But we were looking just at the poetry of the words and how can we symbolically show that on screen. And you think of the flowers and you think of all the colors, and so you think of the dresses at the end that she's wearing. And we knew immediately that we wanted to film in really lush gardens and capture that whole aesthetic.
Oh
with
yeah, I it's interesting that one of the first questions you ask is about like the art and the visual aesthetic of the film. Because that is one of the main reasons that I wanted to work with Susie to create this. As a choreographer, as a visual artist myself and a writer, my brain works in a lot of different directions depending on the idea I am trying to express. And for this film, I knew what the movement felt like. I knew the music I was hearing. I knew the piece that I wanted to write for it. But for whatever reason, I could not see scenes. I couldn't storyboard it. There was no narrative other than the fact that it was my narrative. But that might have made it harder for me to sort of translate that into something other than just a memory or just my own artistic expression, which is why I really appreciate, as Susie was saying, all these different elements that create really what is a collage of a film that it just truly comes from the collaborative efforts of her taking my movement, my ideas, my story, and translating it into what you see on screen.
Mm-hmm. And when we were storyboarding the project too, we actually recorded Diovanna saying the poem pretty early on in the stages. That was like one of the first things that we did with this project. And so when we were storyboarding, it was just listening to her speaking these words and forming. Your brain naturally is just forming all of these ideas in your head of how can we travel from the early stages of a seed to then showing her as she's growing and as she's blossoming and she's questioning at certain phases. And we kind of strung that together. I just quickly put it into Premiere, and we just kind of like strung out with music how everything was going to play and like what the chapters were going to be with this film. And we took it from there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a little bit more than putting in a premiere. Maybe a little bit more, but no, this is like a
Whipped it
super.
together.
Yeah, it just took us 5 minutes. No, I
Exactly.
really,
I wish.
yeah, no, right? I hate doing video editing. I despise it. It just takes so much time. Yeah, you mentioned the transition between the different stages. And one line really stuck out to me. It says, I tried to cry her away. And I thought that was really, really sad and beautiful at the same time.
Mm. There's a lot of lines in this. I love hearing the feedback from people about what are the lines that stick out to them. And yeah, I mean, that I remember writing that section of the poem that accompanies and that you're hearing throughout the film. And I speak for myself and my own gender journey and relationship to my transness and trans identity. There are many a different way I try to avoid the ultimate reality and realization that was like an aha of who I am. Many different methods went into burying that feeling, forgetting that feeling, forgetting, oh, like these visions of who I used to be and having them reoccur. So yeah, that line specifically, it definitely was supposed to hearken to the not so bright moments where you indulge in your own sadness in hoping that is a cathartic experience.
Yeah. And Diovanna, I was on your webpage for your little business there. And
Mm.
I noticed the quote, much of the mythology of the spiritual and religious traditions of the African diaspora contain queer themes, stories, and ideas of gender and sexual identities. I'm wondering, do you have a favorite story?
The one that comes to mind first is within, I will say this is a story that I know to be specific to the Afro-Cuban branch of my religion, or the overall Orisha worship system, which is La Regla de Ochalukumi. The Orisha Ochung, who is the Yoruba goddess of femininity, love, and fertility, among other things. She has a child who is born a boy. His name is Ideu. He sort of represents luck and beauty and just charm. Um, at a certain point in Ideu's life, his life is threatened. And in order to save his life, in order to essentially hide him from the evil that seeks to take him away, they have to disguise him. But that disguise is to say you have to wear a skirt for the rest of your life. You don a sort of new femininity that gives you a sort of double, in that some people say there was sort of effeminate, or he wears a skirt and that represents his relationship to his mother and Ochung. That comes to mind first because it calls up ideas of the power of clothing as a tool of feminization and identity, the ability to shift an old character into a new, as a form of protection, donning femininity onto what was originally assigned male. So that comes to mind first. That's a really good question.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what other projects have you going on?
Oh, Susie, I've been talking a lot.
What other projects are happening right now? I've been writing a lot. I've been working on some short stories, and also I'm a burlesque dancer.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna, plug myself there. Harlow, that is my persona. And just being inspired and going to museums and going to galleries and kind of, I think I'm in the incubation stages right now of my creativity. And I think that part of the process sometimes is overlooked, and you get panic as an artist because you're like, wait a second, I should be doing something right now. It's nice to, be, listening to music in my room and laying down and, thinking about, having an existential crisis and writing poetry about it. And then you're like, oh, wait, everybody else is moving. But I think it's so important to have that part of the process where you can sit with yourself and you can check in with yourself again and see what's inspiring you and igniting that passion. And so I'm currently in that stage right now for a lot of development of future projects.
To be honest, the film is a major priority. Being a member of being a member of the House of La Beja, but for the amount of time I have been, I spend a lot of time like preparing for performances with them, and just like it's a communal effort to keep a house together. So we're constantly like having meetings with each other, welcoming in new members who we meet in off the street and just see potential in or express interest in us. And of course, the house is having an interesting renaissance moment of its own. Of course, Beyonce like just shouted us out on her song. The house was just in Tribeca with our own film. So we're sort of riding the shockwaves of that. And then, this film is a perfect representation of just like where I am in my career as an artist. I am in like overdrive mode in producing just visual art. I have a collection of poems that I'm going to be putting out very, very soon, but I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm one of those superstitious gals. So I'm trying to flood the streets, mama. You're never going to get enough of me. You're going to be sick of hearing my name.
I can't wait. I know that you're superstitious, but I can't wait to read more of your poetry because I'm just so in love with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how can people follow you? What's your socials?
You can follow me at La Diovanna. That's LADIOVANNA everywhere. Yeah. And then my small online business, which you better get in on it real quick because she's going to be going on a hiatus as I focus on like festival circuit with the film. And I don't want to be overwhelmed because I run her alone. But if you want to find her, it's La Boti Muñequita. I'll spell that LABOTIMUNEQUITA.com. That's really long, but I promise you'll find it on my Instagram, which is much shorter. And there's lots of treats on there. I make handmade incense blends and perfumes and give spiritual consultations. It's a whole other side of me. Well, not really. If you watch the film, you'll see that spirituality runs through everything that I do.
And you can follow me at Red Beret Productions. I am not on brand today. Normally I wear a red beret. It is very hot out. So we are Sans Red Beret. And also I would suggest following our executive producer, Alexandra Billings, as well. So just wanted to shout her out real quick.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't realize. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So that was Susan and Diovanna. And their film, When We Arrive as Flowers, is going to be part of In the Morning at the Vancouver Queer Film Festival. That starts tonight. Basically, it's virtual, so you could air it till August 21st. Tickets are as low as $5. They're doing a big push for accessibility in terms of finances. And you can get them at outonscreen.com. And if ticket options are inaccessible to you or you need some other assistance in purchasing a ticket, they ask that you email them at boxoffice@outonscreen.com.